Welcome to Seamless Across Platforms, the podcast where we seamlessly navigate through the worlds of video games, sports, and everyday life. Join me, Fighting Ewok, along with my co-host, I'm Famished, as we explore the diverse spectrum of topics that fuel our passions.
Remember, you can't just jump. Use the launch pad.
I meant to jump!
No, you did it! You did it!
From epic gaming adventure to heated sports debates and insightful discussions about twists and turns of lives, we cover it all. So settle in and join us for a journey across platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when our episodes are coming out. All right, man. So I've got some interesting things I want to talk about tonight. Okay.
All right, good. Well, I'm here for it.
I've sent you some sneak peeks of the gist of, what we're going to be talking about today. But before we deep dive into the major topics that I have for us, we have a big event coming up. Is it this coming Sunday or is it the Sunday after? I'm so terrible at dates. I've lost track of the date.
Not. That's a great question to ask. I'm gonna jump into something that I think you are pretty soon, in regards to one of your topics that you sent. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the Super Bowl, it is this coming weekend.
Yes. Okay. That's what I figured. I just was long story short, last week I got into the conversation with my wife about when the Super Bowl was, and I was all over the place then. And so I went to say this weekend and second guess myself because I was wrong before when I was talking to my wife about it. Anyways, Super Bowl predictions, man. We have to make a Super Bowl prediction. So, who do you think is going to come out on top and give me your final score? That way, post Super Bowl, maybe we'll get another guest appearance from Mr. DiCaprio.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So, I have two opinions on this game. The first one is, I grew up very close in the central U.S., so I'm very sort of biased to the Chiefs. So I want them to win because I'm biased there, and I just grew up thinking they were a really cool team. And I don't really have any fatigue of Patrick Mahomes. I don't care about the Taylor Swift thing. I think that's whatever. People need to get over that if they're sick of it. I think that's sort of a non-starter. She gets less than 1% of the screen time, so whatever. Yeah. But I also think that the San Francisco 49ers, I have to say that I have to stick with them to win, because before the season, I said that I thought they may have a chance to win the Super Bowl when I was talking to one of our buddies, and I think I brought that up maybe on another pod that we were doing recently. So who I want to win, only because I predicted it, the 49ers, so I can say I predicted the right team before the season started. In my heart, I want the Chiefs to win. So I have to say, without going off of my prediction, that the 49ers will win. And I think they can score somewhere around 24 points, and their defense will hold tight and keep the Chiefs to somewhere around 17 or so.
So a 24-17 49ers win.
Yep. Only because I predicted them before the season, not because that's who I want to win.
Gotcha. Well, I have a similar prediction. I don't have any ties to either one of these teams, though, so I don't really have any, I guess I don't have a horse in the race would be the term. But if I were to think about the keys to this game on how if it goes the way I would predict it to go, is I think San Francisco will win this game, and I think that they're going to win this game by protecting the football and establishing, like just dominating with the run game. Even because they, not just with McCaffrey, but just getting creative using their other weapons, like in the backfield as well. Because I know San Francisco is prone to kind of incorporating some of their wide receivers in some of the run game, as well as Brock Purdy, also doing some things with his feet. If he protects the football and they establish a good running game, my final score prediction of this game is actually a little higher than yours. I think it's going to be a 31-28 San Francisco win.
All right.
So.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'll take that.
But moving on from that, and kind of along the same lines, I wanted to have like a fun conversation with you about exploring the different types of sports fans, right? So this is a perfect topic for us to get into with the Super Bowl coming up, is thinking about sporting events that you've been to, people that you've been around, friends, family, whatever, and almost coming up with like, let's see if we can like come up with a list of the different types of sports fans. And even if it means coming up with like a creative name for that type of fan, right? And one of the first ones that I thought of today when I was thinking about this topic was the historian fan. That one fan that knows like all of the history about their team or teams, right? Like they can go back to whatever date and tell you the date, you know, who was playing what position back then, you know, what the uniforms look like, whatever, right? You have those fans that are like really caught up on the history side of things. So you would like, I would classify that as like the historian, right? And then another fan type I thought of today was like the ready to fight fan. That fan that it like, they take it to a point where if things aren't going well, they're ready to fight you over it, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I have another name for that fan. An ultra. They're called ultras. Ultra fans.
yeah, I've heard that in the like the Premier League soccer realm.
Yep, that's the soccer world.
Yeah.
Those are the ultras. They'll do something. They'll do
Yeah.
something about it. Yeah.
Another one I came up with was, or not came up with, but thought of was like, and we can come up with a name for them. This is just more like a broad description of this type of fan, but like emotionally attached. A fan that has some kind of emotional connection to the team, whether it be childhood memory of going to a game, or you know, you had a close family member that you cared a lot about that liked that team, you know, like, so I would say somebody that fits in those categories and has become attached to that team could be categorized as emotionally attached to that team, and that's why they're a fan of that team.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I would say another name for that could be somebody maybe that's like a nostalgic fan. Like when they're around that, it brings back all that emotion, that nostalgia feeling,
Yes.
right? So you have that connection. It's sort of me with the Chiefs.
There you go.
That,
Yeah.
I feel kind of nostalgia to that. So
That's a good point.
yeah.
And something else I was thinking about with these different fan types too is like, you don't have to just fit in one category. You could be the ultra, but also be emotionally attached.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think that you would be both. Yeah.
well, yeah, if you're willing,
overly emotional.
if you're willing to take it to the point of, throwing hands, then yeah, I would say that it's definitely a mixture. And you have, you know, what a lot of people say is your diehard fans, but I guess that could also be categorized as an ultra. But you know, a diehard fan may not be willing to fight over it. You have your bandwagon fans, you know, fans that, you know, hey, that team's winning, I'm gonna join in on that, you know.
Yeah,
And
fair weather fans, right?
yeah, exactly. So I guess while we're on this topic, think of the team that you care about the most, and now think about the type of fan you are, and if you were to categorize it, what would you describe it, I guess, in a short, you know, 2 to 3, maybe 4 words tops?
Um, I think probably somewhere. So if I had to think of the team that I love the most, I would say I would probably say that I'm just more. I guess maybe fanatic, right? So let's take it to our podcast, right?
Yeah.
Life fanaticism, gaming, LFG kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just I would say I'm just a typical fanatic. Um I mean, sometimes I take it to the extreme. I'm very involved with that team actually. It's a soccer team, and I'm very involved with them. So much so that when you wave flags when you see flags waving at soccer matches, um, I do that for this team.
Yeah.
Very involved, and I wear their colors. I don the gear. I would paint my face if I needed to, wear headbands, right? Um, I suppose if there was a big fight between two teams, if some of my people that I'm in a group with were involved, I'd jump in. But I'm not trying to start a fight, so I'm not an ultra. But
So
I,
back to
you
what you
know,
were saying about the flag stuff. Okay, so to somebody that has never been to, obviously we live in the United States, so somebody that has never been to an MLS game, and
yeah,
you as this type of fan, that it sounds like you sit in the supporter section.
yes. So the
Descri-
designated section for these general admission designated section, flags waving, chants, singing. Yes, this section.
Describe for me and for our listeners that may have never been to an MLS game or have been to one but sat in like the normal seats, you know,
Yeah.
why should somebody go to an MLS game of a team that they maybe follow and sit in the section that you're sitting in?
Yeah. So, one word, the two words, the experience, right? So, even if it's just one time, just so that you know what it feels like, because there's different levels, okay? There's different levels of these fan groups across our league, especially here. And I feel fortunate to be a part of one of the largest fan bases, and one of the that we produce some of the largest crowds consistently. So I would just say the experience, just to say that you have done it, and I'll tell you that when you do it, you may find yourself becoming more of a fanatic of that team. You might find yourself a little bit addicted to that feeling, that rush of, when you're when you're just in the crowd, um, you're not that involved. You may be, sitting down most of the game, just watching it, enjoying it. And if that's what you like, awesome, right?
Yeah.
But that experience, it's just, hey, if you really like that team, be able to say that you did it. Be able to talk about, hey, I've sat everywhere in this stadium. I've supported this team from every section. And when you're in that section with those supporters, most of the time you're getting water showers or beer showers when there's a goal. There's shirts coming off. There's flags in your way because you were just there to yell and scream and keep the players going, get the rest of the crowd into it. You just become a different part of the game, right? I would say that when you're in the supporter section, that it's the experience, not of that game, but of your environment.
Yeah.
So if you are just really somebody who said, I need to watch this, I want to watch the game, I go to watch the games, and I like to watch the supporters groups. It's fun to watch, but I want to be able to see the game and yell and scream whenever I want to. Great. But the reason you sit there is to bring a different level. And I say this, you don't necessarily sit in the supporters section to be able to see the whole game because there will be things happen. You're yelling, you're screaming, there's flags in the way, there's stuff going on, but you're there to help create the whole experience for everyone else in the stadium. So you're just making it a better place. That's I guess that's a little longer than what you asked, but that's my answer.
Oh, that's great, man. You know, when I went to one of these with you, and as like a person that doesn't really follow MLS very much, like I'll, you know, watch some games throughout the season here and there, but I'm not like a hardcore, you know, set on stone on one team. Um, this team that we went to see together that you're a fan of, like, would definitely be my favorite MLS team, and I could easily say that that wouldn't be the case if it wasn't for the fact that I went to one of these games and sat in the supporter section with you and just got to, the best way I could describe it is just like come out of like this shell, right? And just like cut loose and party with like a family of supporters and just have a freaking blast. And I remember like there's just like chants and dances and like, you know, when the goals happen, the beer flying, whatever, and just in your hands going, flying. And that was so much fun to just like scream at the top of your lungs, like through the whole game and have stuff to just keep you occupied. And I remember at one point there was some kind of like shuffle thing going on where you're throwing arms over each other of the people that are next to you, and you're like going back and forth, like, you know, in the rows of the seating. And there was this guy to my left, you were to my right, and there was this guy to my left that was just kind of like standing there next to one of his buddies, and they were, you know, like holding their beers, kind of like chilling, like, you know, nodding their heads, like having a good time, but they weren't joining in on like the whatever you want to call it. I mean, is there I don't continue to botch this, is there a term for that particular part of the chants? Like, what is that called? Does it have a saying at all, or is it just like part of a particular chant?
The chant itself has a name, and so, you know, everybody kind of knows, you know, what to do, but really, it, you take your cues from what are called capos at basically at the front, right? They sort of
Gotcha.
lead and tell you what you were doing. So when this particular chant comes up, they're up there on the stage, kind of letting everybody know, hey, you're about to go this way, right?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go this way. So it's just you sort of take your cues.
Well, on that cue, I grabbed this guy to my left that's just standing there, right? Because I'm like, if I'm gonna have fun doing this, like I just grabbed this guy. I have no clue who he is. I throw my arm around him and just like pulled him with us, like going to the right. And I remember he was just like, oh okay, this is happening. Like, and then afterwards, he actually was just like, thanks, dude, that was fun. And
Yeah.
he probably had no clue that this was also my first time there, you know, but we just kind of like I said, just like came out of the shell, just had a good time. And you're right. If you want to go to the game and sit down and analyze and see every aspect of the game, maybe this isn't the best place to sit. But if you are an MLS fan or even thinking about becoming an MLS fan, it's definitely something you should do at least once. At least once.
Yeah. Because you're right, it is mainly a judge-free zone. The only reason you get judged is if you're not participating. So go be ready to participate. But yeah, those are the ultras. Those are people there are people in there that will fight for their team, right?
Yeah.
And those are also fanatics. You know, people who can't, maybe not looking for fights, but who will, you know, go all out for their team. And, you know, I would say that's where I fall, you know, is in that fanatics fandom of that team, probably.
I think that's a good place to be. That's a good place to be, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on to this next topic that I wanted to talk about with you is kind of changing alleys here a little bit, but it's something that gets brought up a lot at times when it comes to, you know, we also talk about video games on here, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
you know, you are in the content creation and you dabble in streaming when you can. I probably lean a little bit more towards the streaming side and do the content creation whenever I can. Neither here nor there. The topic of gaming and mental health. You know, that seems to be something that I've heard before in conversations, and I've talked with people about it before, and something we haven't really covered yet on this podcast at all. But I wanted to talk to you about it because I wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, what are the pros and cons of gaming and mental health. So, for example, one of the things that I think about as like just to get us into this conversation, um, a positive or a pro aspect of gaming, in my opinion, is you may have somebody that is possibly introvert or not very good socially, whether it be at school or, in their adult interactions in public in their day-to-day lives, but they feel more comfortable at home through, kind of that safety net of an online platform, whatever they're on, whether it be, computer or console, handheld, whatever it may be, to feel more comfortable to reach out and interact with people and have conversations with people and develop friendships with people online. So there's this like positive aspect of the social side of gaming where I feel like people can develop pretty lasting friendships, relationships with people online. And I'm sure there's even been scenarios out there where people have met their significant others that they've, formed a bond with in whatever happened. But then also the con side of that is like there's also the risk of, young children getting online, speaking to the wrong people. There's obviously people that out there that want to take advantage of young kids online and whether it be to get information from them or try to, God forbid, sex trafficking issues and all that parents have to worry about these days. And I know that doesn't really dabble too much into the mental health side of things, but I guess anything that affects your day-to-day ability to interact with people can be kind of classified in that mental health category. But anyways, I'm going on a huge tangent here. What are some of the thoughts that come to your mind about like gaming and mental health?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I think as we talk about why people play the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, it's if they're playing the games, it's because they enjoy this type of entertainment.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you're doing something that you enjoy. So I think that's a plus one for the positive mental health, right? You're doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Um, people use it for any number of things. I think that when uh, when I was growing up, I played a lot of video games in the summer with my friends, and we would stay up all night long playing video games. Um, and I would say that it was just it was just another way to have fun, and we built lasting memories from it. So now I still bring those games out and literally play them and publish the content now. So for me, I would say that, that's a plus one. Again, another check mark there for a positive mental health type of thing because you're able to build relationships, whether it's now through more online or before online was as big. You have these um, things that you can build on. Um, so I think that ultimately there is a channel of positive mental health with gaming because it can be a form of entertainment, it can be a form of building relationships, and it can get people through different times and through different things.
Yeah.
Um, and it's becoming more and more because of technology now. So I think more and more people are using it to get through difficult times in their lives as well. I know I used a lot of video games and gaming when I was very, very sick. I was somebody with COVID, for several weeks, was in and out of the hospital. And, for 5 weeks, I think, I relied on games, when I was feeling well enough to get me through. And so, it helped me mentally. It kept my mind going. So there's channels to use it for positive. Now, I'm sure that if since you're bringing this question up, you may have some areas where people may use it into the negative, where it may be detrimental to your health. And beyond talking about how it can impact positively or negatively different relationships and I don't want to really want, and you may want to get into this, but do you see a lot of videos where it's like the wife gets mad because the husband's playing too many games and she like shuts off his PlayStation or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's just this terrible thing. All that stuff to the side. Mental health specifically. For me, I feel that the games themselves have been a very big positive in my life.
Yeah.
Created memories, created friendships, got me through situations and periods of life, and where there was maybe I could have filled that time with something else, but this was the most enjoyable thing I had available to me. And so it got me through happily those situations.
Yeah.
So for me, playing video games has been very positive in different ways. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, how do you feel like that's influenced you and maybe impacted some other people around you?
Well, I think you make great points. I mean, the way that video games can affect your life in the positive, getting you through certain moments in your life, or the seeking it as a form of entertainment, all the things that you talked about. I agree with everything that you're saying. And another thing I would add too is like there's other aspects of it that I think a lot of people don't really think about, especially those people that may not dabble in video games as much. Is you know I feel like there's this misconception that, and some video games may be this way, but there's this misconception I feel like with non-gamers where they feel like video games are this thing that just people just sit in front of a screen and they're brain dead with their mouth open, drooling, like pressing buttons, and like there's no like cognitive wheels turning when you're doing these video games. But it's not like that at all, and I feel like the people that have that perception of it are not thinking about, for instance, like, I don't know, think of a game, whether it be NCAA football that you like to stream a lot, or even like an NBA 2K or Fortnite or whatever it may be. When you first pick up those games and try to play them, you're probably not going to be very good at them. And like all things, with time, you start to get better at it. But if you want to get really good at some of these games, you have to put in the time, the effort, the practice to get to a point where you're really good to start winning games. And in my opinion, that like teaches some very valuable things that, you can get through video games at home, safe at home. You're learning values of hard work and dedication to something, and to get the results that you want. And that can teach some valuable lessons to people, and put you in a state mentally that can be very positive when you get outcomes from the hard work that you do. And it can show people, like I said, that through hard work you can achieve things. So that would be another point that I would just put out. Family bonding time. I mean, come on, man. There's so many different games that I can think of. If we're talking about the digital video game aspect, there's so many games that I can think of in my memory where I bonded with family. Mortal Kombat. I used to play that game with my sister all the time as a kid.
Love Mortal Kombat, man.
And we used to tear that game up. If it wasn't that, we were playing Sonic the Hedgehog. If it wasn't that, we were playing the old school Pokemons on our Game Boys, and
Yeah,
there's it goes on and on. I can remember playing Madden with my dad.
Yeah,
but sorry, go ahead.
I built so many relationships with my distant cousins through the Nintendo 64. Super Mario World.
Yeah.
So that I was just gonna say, I'm just agreeing with you that, man, like the family bonding thing is great. I love that point that you're making there, because people are going to say how much it can take away, but really, if everybody wants to, it can bring people together.
Yeah. Now there is one thing that I will say, two things that I will say about gaming that I I guess, agree with the non-gamers or people that think video games are not ideal, but I don't agree with it 100%. One being that there is an addicting aspect of video games. Yes. Anything that can like spike that dopamine in your brain, it can become addicting, right? So
Yeah.
yes, there's certain things about video games that can be addicting, and if you're not, responsible and controlling of how much you spend on that kind of stuff, it can be a negative aspect of it. I have, a daughter that loves Mario Kart, and she also likes Minecraft and stuff like that. She's trying to get the hand-eye coordination stuff down to be able to play these games really well, but I can see that she really, really likes to play the game, but she hasn't reached a point of it being like this addicting thing where she can sit there for hours on end playing Mario Kart. She can play Mario Kart for maybe 20 minutes and then she's like on to something else. Like she doesn't want to play it anymore. But when she's playing it, she loves it. But down the road, I can see where if she wants to sit there and play it for hours on end, obviously, I'm not going to let her just sit there all day and play it, because it can, like, time can fly. It's very entertaining, it's very addicting, and time can fly, and you could be sitting there all day. So, as a parent, I feel like you should monitor and, like, be aware of how much your child is spending on a video game, and be, use it as a reward would be a great tool, in my opinion. But at the same time, don't forget about how much it can bond you with your child if you find a game that you can both enjoy, and that it is not just some brain dead thing you sit your child in front of and they're not actually going to be using their cognitive abilities to play these games or whatever. That would be one point that I would bring up, I guess. Do you have anything to add to that, or do you,
well, I think you've led us back down the other road that people will bring up on this is, but what about all this time you're spending on it? The addiction, or so to speak. I just think that if you're talking about mental health and video games, mental health has to be intentional with everything. Okay.
Yeah.
If I said TV, some people are going to sit around and watch TV all day. Not good. But if they watch the right types of shows, or they're watching like educational things, good for your mental health, right? Something you enjoy for a little bit. So bringing it back to the video games, it's the same thing. I just think about, sometimes it's just a way for you to escape. You get out of whatever is ailing you, the stresses of the day, whatever's happened. It allows you, as you said, to maybe be a different person online. Hopefully not in a creepy way, right? But allows you to be a little different. You don't have to be that same person you are at work or whatever was going on at home, right? You are released. That's positive mental health. But that's intentional. If you're just going to sit there just to play a shooting game because you like to just imagine killing all of these other people who are playing, that's probably not good for your mental health, right?
Yeah.
People talk about shooting games all the time. That's the controversial one. What has happened with people playing shooting games in this? We could dive into that more. I don't know if I'm fully prepared to just, dissect that completely, but what I would do is circle it back around to finish that thought is, just like with anything in life, the mental health aspect of this can be so positive between bonding, relieving stress, whatever it is, if it's intentionally done for certain purposes and certain times. It can be one of the very best tools we have for the certain type of people with certain type, that mentality. So That's what I have to add. People can absolutely shoot the other way, play devil's advocate, and say how negative it can be in all of these different ways, and they would be right.
Yeah.
But hey, if we're saying, you know, I mean, you name a topic, and I'll tell you, hey, if you took that to the extreme, that would be bad for your mental health. But if you did it this way, it can help you.
Yeah.
That's what I would have to say about it. And for me, I just feel like it's been a net positive in my life.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything you're saying. I'm right
By
there
the
on the same
way,
page as you.
by the way, I tried to write a paper once in high school, and I was given a redo on it because my teacher didn't want to accept it. That video games were educational because the reason I was so good at geography and knowing where all these cities were is because I played so much NCAA football, and I know where all the cities are and where the colleges are located across the United States. So you can take that they're not educational and shove it. That's how I learned geography.
That's a good story. That's good, man.
Teacher did not accept that paper, even though I think it was well written.
Well, to sum this conversation up on the intersection of gaming and mental health, is both you and I are in agreement on the fact that it has been a very positive impact on our mental health whenever we can have that escape, that bonding time, that creativity, whatever it may be. You know, it has been a positive part of our days. And recently we've been able to kind of reignite that flame a little bit with some of our content creation, which has been great. And that opens the alley of people that get to watch like content creators' creations and get enjoyment from watching that. So, I mean, it's quite the topic, and I'm sure we'll come back to it with our, life fanatics in gaming. We'll touch on this some more one day.
Can I mention one last thing, and I'll let you get to the next topic?
Yeah.
If anybody watches this, and you may have seen the reflection of my wife coming in through that door over there, and if you didn't, rewatch the entire pod again so we can get another view, so you can find her reflection comes through here. And she brought me this coffee. Very nice. My wife. But she was also wearing a gaming headset, by the way.
Yes.
She's out there playing video games.
And I bet she's playing with family, having some bonding time.
Yes, she is playing with family.
Yes.
She's playing with her sister.
That actually reminds me, I am looking forward to a Fighting Ewok episode of some kind where you have your wife on with you. And you guys either do a wrestling match with characters or, keep it strictly on the video game, no wrestling in real life. But,
Yeah.
do we have anything like that in the works, or is she kind of like not one to be on the stuff?
I don't think she's necessarily against like being on stuff, but can I be just brutally honest? She thinks the wrestling game is stupid. And I could just, I just hate it when she says that.
It's like those people that say wrestling is fake, right? Get your your blood boiling a little bit.
Come on now. I keep trying to get her to create a character and stuff. I think she'll buckle. I think she acts a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think she would do it if I really said, "Hey, I really want you to be a character on here. I really want that." I think she would do it, but she also says it's stupid.
I remember when you and I were playing like an NBA game, right? And it was like something where we were creating teams, and she created the Jacksonville Seamen, spelled SEAMEN or whatever, right? And that team beat my created team all the time, and I used to get so mad about that. And she would be so like, you would send, I don't know how, like if it was like videos or text, but somehow or another I found out like her enjoyment from that. And anyways, I feel like I don't know, your missus is an awesome person, and I feel like you guys could your content creation, not to pressure her, but I think that you guys could have a lot of fun with a video one of these days on video games again. video games. Um, anyways, uh, move
That would
move.
end up on another website with an X and not the X social media platform.
No, yeah. So anyways, on to this last topic, and it kind of dabbles in with what we were kind of talking about a little bit, but um, and I'm not really bringing this up for like the negative aspects of it, or what spouses get into arguments about or anything like that. That's not why I bring this up. I'm just curious, um, balancing your digital life. So for me, like I'll just start. For me, starting this whole streaming content creation thing, doing it as much as I can, because I know that the more that you can do it on a consistent basis, especially with the streaming, the better. And then balancing being a father, balancing being a husband, and going to a full-time job and all these things, like trying to find a way to make it all work can kind of be a madhouse at times, right? Like, and it can be very stressful. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people can relate to, that want to go down this avenue, whether it be doing it the style that you do, or you do more content creation, and you have your few days here and there where you try to go live when you can. And then I'm probably more on the other side, like we said earlier in the podcast. But balancing everything for me, at first it was just a nightmare because I didn't have any kind of schedule in place. And then I put together a schedule, sat down with the missus and said, this is like a schedule I'm thinking about doing. What are your thoughts? And like we talked it over. And it's been working for the most part, but there's also still been just like those chaotic days where something comes up, or somebody gets sick, or I'll even be honest, there's been days where like it's supposed to be a streaming night for me, and like my mental place is just not right, like, and I feel like my best days streaming, content creating, is when I can walk into this room and just have that upbeat positive feeling, right, that I'm just like ready to attack it, right? And there's been some days where I walk in this room and that energy is not there, and I'm trying to find the energy, so
Yes. So, one question, because we had our mental health conversation, right, with video games,
yeah,
and you just talked about that mental state of mind. So, just to sort of delineate between the two, you're talking about like content creating and streaming, right?
right,
So, it's not necessarily that you're in a headspace where you wouldn't enjoy your video games, because that is a release for you. That's a great period for you. But it's what's your energy level to try to entertain people with it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because there's the last thing that like they say you should be doing whenever you're streaming, especially, is like you shouldn't just be sitting there silent in front of your screen playing your game. Like you should try every way possible to be interacting with your viewers, whether you have viewers there or not. And if I come into this room with low energy, it can be very difficult, to like be that entertaining streamer or whatever. Whereas if I come in this room with that positive energy, it feels a little bit better, and I can kind of flow a little better. I feel better. The game I'm playing, I'm enjoying more. And that's another aspect of it too, is like sometimes like finding a game to play that you're genuinely enjoying while you're playing. If you're playing a game that you don't enjoy, it can be life sucking. It can be tough. It can be tough to stream and do that at the same time. But anyways, like the balancing aspect of all of this, I feel like I'm starting to hone it in. But I was also just curious, like have what's it been like for you so far? Do you have any kind of tactics in place that help you, or are you just kind of like on the whim, you just go for it when you feel like doing it? And if that's the case, like, if it works for you, that's great. I'm just curious, like, do you have any tips or any advice to anybody that's like thinking about getting into content creation, what to expect? Like, the
Yeah.
floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah. So I'm going to do more. So content creation, I know that that's an umbrella that includes streaming and making videos. It's everything, right? But you've sort of alluded to that, I do more creating of videos rather than like live streaming, so a
Mhm.
little different. Um, so here's what I do. So when I play my video games and I create a video with my games or live stream the game, either way, doesn't matter. If it involves the games, I take the cue. I don't have a set schedule. You're probably doing it in a more professional way where you have a set schedule. You want to stick to that. You build a following. They understand it, right?
Right.
I don't do live as much, so my videos will drop sporadically, which gives people time to, people who are subscribed to me, it gives them time 2, 3, 4 days to, you know, consume that content if they hadn't seen it.
Right.
So the schedule itself isn't as big a deal for me because I'm not live content creating for 95% of my time, right? I do on occasion. But for me, whenever I'm making anything video game related, I take a cue from the way my evening is going. If, and number one, I always wait till the kids go to bed because I want to spend the time with family, right?
Right.
Or at least the youngest one, because the oldest one, the teenager, may be hiding in their room and, maybe isn't, being social with everybody. So that's not that big of a deal. But I always wait until later in the evening. And then I again kind of take a cue from maybe, how was dinner, with your family and your spouse? How is everything going? In my situation specifically, she likes to play video games as well. So she fires up that PlayStation because she wants to play with a member of her family. Um, on some occasions, I'll sit there and watch for a minute. There's been even an occasion or two where I've jumped in and played because I want to have that bonding. But I also know that I'm free to go play mine, co-create something, go make a couple of videos, have them saved, have them ready to upload over the course of a few days, right?
Right.
I just take my cue. That's video game stuff. When it comes to content creating, as far as my shorts, I'll say the shorts that I create on my channel, that is random. We may be walking out the door to go somewhere and lightning strikes my brain and I just start filming something for 30 seconds on the way out the door. All right. Um, it may be when I've got on overalls, a flannel jacket, and like muck boots out, and I'm out in the shed, and all of a sudden something hits my brain because I see a tool that people are using wrong and I need to teach them how to use it properly. And I'll spend 10 minutes making 2 or 3 versions of the video. I'll pick one and then I'll go back to whatever I'm working on outside, right?
Nice.
So I've forced a couple of those, trying to make it funny, and it never fails that they don't work. So I don't force that time frame. There is no set time frame on short content creation.
Right.
Um, I can't do it. It has to be in the moment. So I would just say the advice is follow what you said. If you want to be a live streamer, set a schedule, make it work with your family, put your family first, and make sure that it's a good getaway for you to go do and be something else for a while that you want to be.
Yeah.
Um, and if you are not really that live streamer and you don't really have that set schedule on it, like myself, take a cue from how it's going that evening. Make sure you spend your time with your family first, and then see what everybody else is doing. And again, if you got 3 nights a week where you can go and pop a couple videos and make them great. You're ready to roll for a week or so because you can release a video and then 3 or 4 days later release another one.
Yeah.
And when you're making shorts, your family just has to know you're an idiot and you're just going to pop off on something if it hits your brain. You could be in the middle of the Walmart parking lot and find something funny and just start videoing and make a 30-second clip or a minute clip. And just your kids will just be embarrassed by you, and your wife probably will too. But hey, you know what? Such is life. You live once, have fun with it.
Yeah, man. That's something else I've been like really torn with lately with this content creation streaming thing is again, yes, I highly recommend like having some kind of schedule you can sit down with your significant other, especially if you're married and you have kids, to come up with something that works for you and your family. Um, but this is my first time doing this, you know, like in obviously this is your first time getting into this stuff too. We're still really new in all of this, and something I've just kind of been feeling lately is like I feel like I want to go more down the content creation alley where I don't have this like stream I have to not really worry about, but like it's just been difficult with the streaming aspect of it. Whereas I've been able to have more time, I guess would be the better way to put it, for content creation, not as well as I've almost found more enjoyment from some of the content creation aspects of things where I can, you know, off stream, play a game with a friend, record it, and then go back through and create something from that video, right? That I can then, you know, add a thumbnail, add special effects, add animations, add cut stuff, like whatever, and edit the video and post it up on YouTube, or, you know. And I found a lot of enjoyment from that with a recent video that I posted on my YouTube channel. And I have another one in the works and I'm enjoying it, but you know, I'm in this funny place of like, I really want to stream too, but like at the same time, I'm also having a lot of fun with this content creation that's like off stream. So I feel like, you know, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. Should I like just commit myself to one aspect of it? You know, should I commit myself to this content creation thing and just do that for a little while and dabble in streaming kind of like yourself? Or should I continue just with what I got going on and try my best to throw in some content creation on the side? I don't know, but it's all new, trying to figure it out. It's been fun. It's just also been kind of, you know, like I said, some days are tough walking in this room to bring that energy and balance the digital life that I have. So
yeah, you're right. And I would just say this, and this is the way I feel about this is kind of how I feel about what you're going through, because it's the same thing that I feel as well. Um, Making that decision, it's not really a decision that we say, I'm going to do this. It's literally an evolution over time.
yeah.
And you've been doing this, and when you first started, live streaming gave you a buzz when you would do it, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
exactly, right? But it was like a high. It was like an adrenaline rush, right? Where you're like, hey, I'm going live. This is exciting. This is fun. You know, I'm kicking it. And then all of a sudden, you know, now you also did a little bit of content creating. And then over time, the streaming has felt a little bit more grinding, right? And you've begun to enjoy the more content creation part of things. I think that that's exactly what happens to people, is that they start something that has two or three areas inside of it, and what they really feel passion for continues to be fun, and the other things that they're not as passionate about, they sort of go down, you know, they sort of lose their ability to give you that adrenaline rush. And so while you do like it, you start to figure out who you are by what continues to draw you to it.
Yeah.
So if now if you've been streaming and streaming, and then now you've been doing some content creating, and it's like the content creating is sort of pulling me in, then maybe you're just learning who you are a little bit more, and that's a great thing for mental health, right? That's a great thing to
Yeah.
know. Now this is me. um so maybe I'm going to stream one night a week, and no pressure, but I'm going to create some content from some of those highlight clips and post it through Kick, YouTube, whatever you post it on.
Yeah.
And you're going to continue to build followers through cool shorts that you do or videos you post. And you know, as they follow your page, hey, if they learn that once a week you stream, you know, you may be able to get that and see that. So I just think it helps you learn who you are over time. So, you know, that's what I would say on that.
Yeah. Well spoken, sir. Well, we have talked for quite a while, and I think that our listeners probably reached their wits' ends on all my topics. So
I think you brought some good stuff. I really enjoyed it. You really drove it tonight. Those bullet points I didn't really get to see. I saw a little bit of it this morning, and then you kind of changed up the order, and I think it went well. So
Yeah, man.
it's awesome, really cool, man.
Well, I appreciate you. To those viewers slash listeners out there, check out Fighting Ewok. You're already on his page if you're listening to this, because you got to go through his YouTube channel to get to this podcast. So we appreciate those of you that are listening right now or watching our beautiful faces as we flap our gums. And then you can catch me. I'm Famished over on Kick. I also have a YouTube channel though. Check that out as well. And we will have another episode after this one is posted. I'm guessing sometime this weekend, right before the Super Bowl, we'll have this one uploaded for everybody. We will be recording our next episode on the upcoming Wednesday. So looks like recording Wednesdays and then having the episodes up no later than probably Saturday of the weekends. So maybe even as early as Friday, depending on how things are going. But
yeah, absolutely, man.
But I appreciate you, man, like always, and look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll catch you later, man.
Later, man.